Hey everybody, this video is the beginning of our decimal review video because we got knocked out of school when coronavirus struck, so we weren't done the unit. We're just going to quickly look at a few things right before endgame here. So first of all, decimals is just like fractions. All we did, and the whole numbers, we just went through each of the symbols to just see how it applies to decimals, okay? Now, we started right at multiplication, so that's what I'm going to do right now. So if you had a question like this and you're like, how on earth could I do that? The good news is that multiplying decimals is virtually the same as multiplying regular numbers. All you got to do is squeeze these things up to some end wall. And notice that the decimals themselves are not lined up, and that is okay when it comes to multiplication. We don't need to line them up. If you're wondering what that crackling is in the background, that is a half pound of bacon. All right, so here's the wall, and here's my thing. So I'm just going to do multiplication, ignoring the decimal altogether, as though it wasn't even there. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. And then the next number staggers over a bit right here. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 1 is 2. And then the next one starts in this column, so I'm going to have two chunks of no man's land. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. Obviously, you can probably tell I picked some pretty small numbers, so I wouldn't have to be bothered with doing any borrowing, and that's okay. What we do is we just add these as normal. That bacon smells good. 6, 7, 10, 4, 8, 9, 4, 1. So we're almost done. In fact, we are actually we've done all the calculations that we need to do. The only thing we need to do is take into account the decimal. The decimals that we started with to begin with. If we look, how many decimal places do we have? 1, 2, 3 decimal places. That's just a coincidence that they're the same digits. 1, 2, 3 decimal places in our input, okay? So we have to take account for these 3 decimal spots. So what we do is, to take care of that, is we do 3 bounces. And is that going to be in there? 3 bounces. From where? From the wall. So 3 bounces from the wall looks like this. 1, 2, 3, arrow tip, dot. You gotta have the arrow tip there because that tells your teacher that you went that way and not that way. Okay? It tells your instructors where you started and where you ended. Okay? So it's not like we're inventing a decimal place out of thin air. There always was 1, 2, 3 decimal spots. But in order to get all the math right, we just had to make sure that that we re-included the decimal places at the very end. So there's your answer, 149.076, or 149 and 76 thousandths. And we'll get into that a little later. So for multiplication, that is all that you need to worry about. Just do it normally and then do the bounces. Count your decimal spots and then do your bounces. I'll do a couple more examples here. This example here, I like this one because anytime that you see it, big numbers like this, you're thinking, maybe we're thinking, wow, that's going to be really hard. Look at all these numbers. But all we need to do is look at the numbers that aren't zeros, first of all. 3 and 5. Well, we know that 3 times 5 makes 15. 15 has to be in the answer somehow, okay? So that's just kind of in our thought cloud. So what about the rest of this stuff? Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimal spots on this side. So instead of it just being a 15, 5 decimals here, we just have to go from our wall 5 decimal spots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Decimal. What on earth do we do with these things? Well, we see that, okay, there's a number 1 right there. It's kind of off to the side. I'll put it there again. But there's nothing here, here, and here. And this is where we put zeros. These zeros do matter. We can't pretend that they don't matter. There they are. So the answer is 0.00015, like this. also known as 0.00015. Both of these would satisfy the math gods, and you will be just fine. Okay, so let's say we took this question again and we wanted to do it the other way. What would it look like? Well, we could say 0.03 and 0.005. Now, if we're used to one system that works all the time, let's keep using that. 5 times 3 is 15. Carry the 1. 5 times 0 is 0. Plus 1 makes 1. And then that's all there is on the top. So we'll erase that there. Now I'm going to start with the next number. So leave some space there. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. Now I'm going to go to this 0. So I got to start in the third column right here. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. Add these guys up. Guess what? 0, 0, 1, 5. Here's my wall. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decimal spots. So from my wall, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's my decimal. Aha! I need to insert a little 0 right there. So you could do it like that if you wanted to. Now, just for the record, someone once asked me, are we supposed to line up the decimals in multiplication? And I thought to myself, well, it actually doesn't matter. So sometimes teachers say you only line it up when you're adding and subtracting, and you don't have to line up when you're multiplying, but you can if you want. Like if you want to remember just one way, just think of it this way. Always line up the decimals. And here's how it would look. For example, we would have 0.03 times 0.005. This too is okay. And look, your decimals are aligned. You are allowed to do this. What we want to do is maybe just indicate that there's another 0 there, just so that we don't get confused about what's going on. So there's my wall. It's green this time. And here we go. 5 times 0, 0. 5 times 3 is 15. There's the 5, carry the 1. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 1 is 1. Now we go to the next column. 0 times 0 is that. 0 times 3 is that. 0 times 0 is that. That guy's gone by now. And then we go to the next column, which is obviously going to be zeros. But we start here. 0. 0 times 3 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. We add these together. 0, 0, 1, 5, 0. There's my wall. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spots this time. There's 6 spots. So I got to include 6 hops on this time. And it's just because of the way we set it up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, arrow tip dot, put in your extra 0 there, and there you see the answer, 0.000150. And now we also recognize that we don't need to show this. That's a unnecessary 0. Well, these 3 are very necessary zeros, so there is your answer, or also known as 0.000015 as well. That would be okay, and that would be okay. They would satisfy the math gods. This is also an unnecessary 0, so you don't need this 0, and you don't need this 0. You truly are good enough right here. Okay, so I hope that's a good little review for the beginning of our decimal review. That's the multiplication. Next video we'll do decimal division.